More hanging around with heroes on today's episode of The Hot Zone.
This is The Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
Hey folks, I have to say I have had so much fun this week putting together the podcast because I'm telling you the stories of heroes. We're talking about the 75th anniversary of the D-Day invasions in Normandy, France. And we've been bringing you stories from over there all week long. Today is the pinnacle of those stories. I've got an extended version of the CBN piece that will be airing, aired yesterday, actually. I've got an extended version of that story for you. And then we're going to have some testimonies from different veterans who were there during the invasion. And I tell you what, get your tissues handy, because to listen to the gut-wrenching stories these guys have to tell will, if it doesn't make your eyes leak, something's wrong with you. So here goes. Watch this. Military planes fill the skies over southern France, 75 years since the push began to liberate Europe from Nazi Germany. These men have come to commemorate the anniversary, along with hundreds of thousands of well-wishers on the ground. Among those paying their respects, dozens of D-Day veterans, all of whom are now in their mid to late 90s. But age is just a number to Tom Rice, a 97-year-old paratrooper who first landed here the morning of June 6, 1944 with the 101st Airborne Division. He's marking the day by reenacting that jump alongside a plane load of current members of his old unit. The landing isn't perfect, but Tom comes up smiling, proving he's still as tough as nails.
Great. Beautiful drive, beautiful jump, beautiful flight. Everything was perfect. That was hard going on the D-Day jump. I landed standing up for the most part, and then went down to my knees and bounced a couple times because I had so much equipment. And I had a difficult time getting out of that equipment.
Down below, Rangers from the U.S. Army's 75th Ranger Regiment got a chance to climb the cliffs at Pointe du Hoc, a pivotal objective which was captured by American Rangers under heavy fire on D-Day.
For us, it was, we had the ropes, the cargo let. It wasn't a huge challenge, but I can only imagine the difficulties they saw on the single ropes with people shooting grenades, bombs going off. It would have been just an amazing thing to be able to do.
Veterans now in their 90s looked on as the Rangers climbed and remembered what it was like in 1944.
It brings back a few bad memories because the boys that got killed. That was pretty sad. In fact, I get angry when I think about it. They came up here and they knew they had a chance of being killed, and some of them got killed.
It was interesting. I had not expected to see the planes. Of course, they were modern planes, but they did have the World War II invasion markings on the wings, so it was nice to see that. I can remember that as we were coming in on the ships, some of the planes flew over us, and we were quite surprised to see those three white stripes on all the wings, because we never had seen them before. But so it was nice to see them again. This is my 8th trip total, and well, it's a last hurrah. I'd be over 100 if we had an 80th, and I'm definitely not going to come here after my 80th.
Those privileged to be here say they are getting a better sense of the price paid by those who gave their lives on these beaches 75 years ago. And the current Ranger Regimental Commander reminds people there are still American heroes making those sacrifices today.
We don't talk about much, but the reality is that heroic actions are taking place on the modern day battlefield every single day. I see it against the modern day enemy. And it's pretty impressive. We don't talk about it much, but actions very similar to what occurred here are happening every day.
Well, if you look behind us, you'll see the hills and the rises. That's where the Germans had machine guns, mortars, and we were facing that. We were an open view to them. At the beach, as we were coming in the beach, the ramps were metal on the boats, and when the ramps went down, the machine gun bullets came right in on us. I was looking for some place that I could get to casualties in and treat them, and I looked and saw that rock. We saved many lives there that day, getting them in behind that rock. Listening to the water reminds me of the day that we came in and trying to save lives in the waves. I was wounded 3 times, and then 4 times the 4th time was my back, 4 times. My job was to save lives. I never thought of myself. I saved the guys there that we to get out. We won that battle because we were the good guys. We were fighting for a cause. I think more of the guys that I wasn't able to save. Those guys never had the opportunity to have families, have a home, and enjoy life as we do. The rock, of course, now is very important to me because it has my men's name on it. And for years when I would come over, I didn't have the men's names to look at on a plaque or anything. And it was like they were way, way away, that I'd lost them and had no recognition of where they were or what they had done. And now it's like coming to visit them again. I can see their names, read their names, and it means a lot to me.
The time, 2200 hours, June 5th, 1944. The place, England.
It turned a boy into a man. Yeah, I grew up fast.
The day before Dennis Trudeau parachuted into Normandy, he wrote his parents a letter saying he was about to go into battle, but that they shouldn't worry.
It's to my mother and dad. I said, well, Mother, as I have a spare moment and we got approval of writing to you, I'll drop you a line to let you know the score. We're dropping into action tomorrow night into France.
Trudeau had joined the Canadian military at 17 and became a paratrooper, in part because they were paid an extra $50 a month. He's 93 now, living in Grovetown, Georgia, but his memories of D-Day and the day before D-Day are undimmed. On June 5th, 1944, he and the other paratroopers sat on the tarmac and joked about how they'd be in Paris by Christmas. But when they climbed into the plane, the chatter stopped. Trudeau's position was by the open jump door. He could look out across the vast array of planes and ships powering toward Normandy. Planes were strung out across the horizon.
I just kind of told the Lord, I says, let me see one more sunrise. And we crossed the coast of France, and we had about, maybe a minute. And the red light came on, and we jumped out the door. I dropped into water about up to my waist. Yeah, the fields were all flooded, and trying to get out of that and looking around, trying to find out, what direction to go.
In the dark, he rendezvoused with other paratroopers. They were on the way to their objective when friendly fire hit, an Air Force bomb.
They've gotten easier to look back, but some of the things will never be easy. When we were in that bombing raid, I happened to be fortunate enough to land in a ditch beside an old stump, and my partner that was on the other side, he didn't survive. When I left him, I had a morphine needle, and he was hurt, and I gave him put my morphine into his one leg, the other leg was gone. And he kept calling for his mother. And I told him, you're going to be all He died. Those things hurt.
Within hours, combat would be over for Trudeau as well. He was captured by German forces and spent the duration of the war in a prisoner of war camp.
You know, we didn't know what to do. They took everything we had that was of any value. Had a watch or a ring, or they took all that. In fact, they took my boots. I ran without shoes for quite a while.
By the time the war was over, he had gone from 135 pounds to about 85. He says he'll never forget seeing an American soldier when he was freed.
What happened, every morning we'd have roll call about 6 o'clock in the morning. Then we'd march and get our shovels and picks and walk to where we worked. But this morning when we got up, you know, we didn't know. They took us and we went to our tool shed and they said, nine, you know, no Arbeit, kein Arbeit. We come to this little town and kind of get emotional there on this thing. And anyway, I seen in the vestibule of a house, I seen this soldier. And I didn't know whether, at the time, I didn't know whether he was German or what, but when we got close, I knew he was American. And I ran up and hugged him, kissed him, you know, and I looked up in the heavens and I said, Lord, thank you. I was free, I was well, and I was going home.
He returned to Normandy in 1955 for the first time to see the graves of 8 platoon members who didn't survive. This time, he'll say a prayer over their graves.
I think it's been my 3rd or 4th trip here. I come here to show respect to these people that make their effort to come here to honor us for what we did so many years ago. Our nation has been strong and is still strong today. Because of why? Because of our own people being able to put their life on the line. When you go into combat, you're putting your life on the line.
You look in every direction and you see it's happening everywhere. The water was full of dead men. The beach had burning landing craft, things on fire, lots of wounded men on the beach, and dead men too. But the dead men, I remember, were in the water all around the ship. I grieve for them then as I do now, but you hadn't time to do anything about that. You had to focus on what you had a job to do. But when I came back and saw the beach that I'd last seen covered in bodies and debris and burning vessel, when I saw it as a holiday beach with children playing, I was very moved by that. And I'm still moved by it now when I think about it. So I felt immediately that I had to record what I've seen, to some extent what I felt about it, how I felt about it, but had to make a record of it. So I wrote a song.
Through 5 long years of war, we knew that many would not return, but all our hearts were true. Oh, we were bound for Normandy, where we had a job to do.
So the noise was deafening, and the black smoke and the acrid smell of cordite, which was coming from the battleships firing the big shells. They're the outstanding things in my memory of that day. I cast my mind back to that 75 years ago, and I just can't believe what happened, and that we're still here after all those years afterwards.
On the boat, I got dead, and I got wounded, and I got life soldiers. And they're crying, Mama, Mama, Mama. And everybody thinks you cry to God. When you're dying, you cry, Mama. So one guy was maybe 2 or 3 feet away from me. He got hit in the stomach with the machine gun, ripped his stomach right open. Somehow this kid lived, I don't know how. He lived that whole day. The other kid that was close to me, he was probably maybe a foot away from me. He was not so lucky. The machine gun took his helmet, and half of his face off. And he was crying, "Help me, help me, help me." I couldn't help him because I couldn't even help myself. I had no morphine. I had nothing to help this kid. So I didn't know what to do. So I remember when my grandmother died, they said a prayer over her. So I started praying, "Our Father who art in heaven." And it seemed to calm him a few seconds. Then he fell flat, and he was at my feet, right here on my feet. I knew he was going to die. Half of his head was gone. He had red hair, and his hair was all full of blood. And I don't know what possessed me. I reached down, and I touched his hand, because I wanted him to know he wasn't alone. He squeezed my hand as if to say, "It's all right." And he died. And he died. He was just a little boy. Just a little boy. And he was dead. The whole beach was covered with bodies. Dead and wounded, crying, some alive, some scared, they didn't want to move. It was a bloodbath. And I'm saying to myself, what the hell just happened here? Why am I alive? Why do I have my arms and legs? And these guys are all dead around me. I want to come back, because every time I come back, I bring somebody that's never been there before. And I see through their eyes. There's a cemetery in Colville, which is overlooking Omaha Beach. And in that cemetery are 9,400 dead bodies. White marble tombstones. I want you to walk with me in that cemetery. Pick out a tombstone, any tombstone. Place your hand on that white marble and say to yourself, 6 foot down is a boy, probably 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. He gave his life for his country. And then you lift your eyes up and you see 9,400 white marble tombstones. They all gave their lives for their country.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2019.